Hey everybody, listen, welcome to a discussion that me and Mr. Mike Hajjar we're having today. We're going to talk about real estate and we're going to talk about mortgaging. We're going to have an opportunity to introduce ourselves to you, but we want to thank you. We decided to pick up a cup of coffee and take some time and share a little bit about what's happening in the marketplace. And what we want to do also is we want to extend a sincere you know, condolence, apology, let you know that our heart is open to all of you that's experiencing what's happening today with this virus. We're very sensitive about it. And so on today, what we really wanted to do was we just really wanted to provide some information that we think may be helpful to you and helping you as the consumer to get through this very sensitive time and crisis. But my name is Monique Carter. I'm the real estate broker and specialist with Carter and Associates Real Estate Company in Southfield, Michigan. And I want a very dear friend of mine and amazing leader in the mortgaging arena. I want him to be able to tell you a little bit about who he is.
Thank you, Monique.
You're welcome.
Monique downplayed a little bit. So not only is she an experienced broker, that would be an understatement for her. She is probably one of the most diligent and intelligent agents that I've worked with, and I've been doing this for 15 years. So
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
My name is Mike Hajjar. I'm with MPH Lending at American Financial Network. So Monique and I have been really talking about what's been going on in the market. We've been talking about the fact that, to her point, that we are sensitive to what's going on around us. We are, our thoughts are with people. We wish everyone the best through these times.
That's right.
But we also want to let the people know that are buying homes or refinancing homes or selling homes that our industry hasn't shut down. Most of the most of the industry, if you will, is driven by fear right now.
Yeah.
And most of the country, if you will. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today is not that we're not sensitive to it, but to let you know that there are experts that are still working, that have been prepared, have been in these sort of situations before.
That's right.
And to talk about exactly what you called me and said,
Yeah.
of how do we turn adversity into
An
advantage
opportunity.
or
Opportunity, absolutely. And let me just kind of just chime in here. Me and Mike, we've been working together for a while, and I'll tell you, I'm very anal about who I work with, who I spend time with, and I have found in Mike not only as an amazing leader in the industry and knowledgeable in the industry, but one that has heart. And I'll tell you, I've been in the business for about 25 years, and for me at this stage in the game, for me in real estate, it's really about relationships. That's huge to me because as we are in changing times, as we're in a market right now where we've all had to take a moment to pause, or a moment of silence, or a moment to reinvent and reset ourselves. This is a time where me and Mike, we felt that our coming together and having worked a lot together and experienced sometimes challenging moments in transactions, and really being able to, outside of our gifts and talents and our ability, really being able to have something that we believe is very endeared, and that's having a sense of that commonplace of having a care and a concern about the consumer, which is why we decided to get together today. As we're both working today, we're both still serving our clients today. We're both very busy today, but he and I both agreed on last night that we needed to take a minute and share with you today and let you know that we are really, really here for you. And I can't think of anyone else at this time in my life, in my career, that I feel would be the best person to share this moment with than Mr. Mike Hajjar, because of his experience, his ability to help the clients to achieve their dream as becoming approved, being able to position themselves to buy the home of their dreams, being to help people that have been in a very, very hard place. And while today we're not here to do a sales pitch, what we want you to understand, as me and Mike were sharing, is that where there is adversity, there's opportunity. And there's so many things that I think that you as the consumer, you need to be aware of. And so all we really wanted to do was share some information with you that may give you an aha moment, or may spark something in you that may cause you to take a moment to, remove yourself from some of the anxiety and some of the fear, but understand that you've got to look out for you, and you got to look out for your family. And when we start talking about a mortgage, and we start talking about our home, we need to know what are our options out there, what's available to us. So as me and Mike are going to be doing some further discussion, and we're going to kind of continue to come on, we know that there'll be questions. We know that there will be individuals that are out there that need, some direction, or they need a plan B, and we hope to be that resource to being able to do that. And Mike, I'm, as I'm sitting here, what hits me really hard is that, it's been all over the news about the Feds cutting the rates down to 0%, right?
Right.
Now, what's interesting, Mike, is that, and don't mind us guys, because we have these discussions a lot. And this is where I really like to pick Mike's brain, and I love to do that because this is a man that he's a lot younger than me, so he can work around the clock, and I need to get my sleep, right? But I'm very thankful for the diligence and being able to tap into Mike's experience. But I've had all these calls come to me. Everybody's asking me, they saw this thing on CNN, interest rates are down to 0%. So everybody's calling me up saying, okay, what does that mean for me? And I'm certain that there are those that are scratching their heads saying, okay, whoa, what does that mean? So since we're talking here, right, I think it's a great opportunity for you to, take the pulpit, so to speak, and share, what does that really mean about zero interest? Does that mean that since I just bought my house and my interest rate was a good interest rate, does it mean that all of a sudden I can come back and get it down to zero? What does that mean?
And that's a great question. That's the question that that everybody's been calling me and asking me. What does this mean?
Right.
Whether they own a home, whether they're looking to buy a home. So I did a video on this yesterday, and it was because of the influx of calls.
Yeah,
right?
I think I saw the video, in fact.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Great.
I didn't get all the information, so I had just a little bit of it, and so there are people that our minds are wandering here with what's going on with that.
Absolutely. So, in a nutshell, I'll get into kind of the specifics in a second, but in a nutshell, to kind of relate it, and again, not to downplay the seriousness of what's going on.
Absolutely.
But forget the Fed rate cut. Rates had already started coming down because mortgage rates are based off of mortgage-backed securities. They were performing extremely well, regardless of what was happening with the stock market. The mortgage-backed securities kept performing well, which caused this near historic low in interest rates. So the analogy that I saw that somebody had put out there was funny, but it was to the point of this, and I'm going to get to the Fed rate cut here in a second. The low interest rates of the 2s and the 3s, they're just like hand sanitizer was all over the place.
That's right.
We no longer have those rates necessarily. We expect them to come back. We don't know exactly when. However, rates, this had nothing to do with the Fed cut. The Fed cut came on a Sunday, which blindsided the entire industry.
Wow.
And they cut the Fed fund rate to zero. Now, the Fed fund rate is going to be completely different than what a mortgage rate is. Why? Your Fed fund rate changes day to day, while a mortgage is fixed for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years.
That's
so
right.
it's a completely different rate. So it's a great question, because if I wasn't in the industry, and unfortunately there's a lot of people in the industry giving out incorrect information. They know that the rate is not zero. They don't know why, right? They don't understand the secondary markets and things like that.
So the Fed rate, what does it apply to?
So the Fed rate is going to be tied to the Federal Reserve. So it's not, and we're talking about the stock market. We're talking about how other bonds are performing. But that, again, is, I may have 8 to 10 rate changes in a day.
Wow.
The client doesn't see that. What's today's rate is the question. That's not, that at 12 o'clock, it might be one thing. At 2 p.m., it might be a completely different story, right? Because that's how fast it's moving.
Yeah.
So that's completely different. What it means is that the money is being lent to the banks at 0%. Let's put it this way: if banks lent money at 0%, the entire economy would collapse. So
right.
The answer that I gave to a lot of my close friends and family is, forget the Fed rate cut. Rates went up after the Fed rate cut, but we are still near historic low levels.
Yes.
So whether you're looking to refinance, buy, sell, and then buy, this is a great time to do it. I'll give you a quick example. I had a client that we did a purchase for 4 years ago that had 26 years now left on her loan. We refinanced her into a 15-year, shaving 11 years off of her mortgage, and lowering her payment while doing that. Now, what does that mean for people that are looking to buy? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, if you were looking to buy a $200,000 home, you may not have qualified because of the interest rate would have set the debt to income ratio way too high.
Over the top, yeah.
Over the top.
Right.
Well, now with rates so low, your buying power extends. So, I think I was mentioning to you yesterday, Yahoo Finance put out an article that the search term on Google of should I buy a house right now is at an all-time high, meaning there is so much confusion in the marketplace that it's mandatory for leaders like yourself and myself to step up right now and say, let us educate you.
Absolutely, and I was just going to say that too, because we're in a market right now where, especially with what's happening out here, when we start to speak about there being opportunity with adversity, what we mean by that is, again, it's a time to really reset and look at your options, right?
Correct.
And so for some of you, your immediate option might be, okay, what is my monthly mortgage based off of some of the things that are transpiring right now? So maybe this might be the time right now to make a phone call to Mike and to basically ask the question without there being any obligation. There's no obligation here. It's just a matter of putting things into play, or at least having some understanding. I have found in the industry of real estate, as long as I've been in it, is that oftentimes where people have the most success are the people that have the most education or the most understanding. And so oftentimes we become paralyzed, especially in these times. We're paralyzed because we're afraid to make decisions. We don't know where to go to get answers, which is why we're here today, because we want to be able to, come on screen or come on live with you, if you will, in this platform where it's non-intimidating, because what we know is that there are questions. Okay, what we know is there are people that have families that still want to buy a home, and it's still a great time to buy a property, even in this market. And so what we have to do is we have to understand the necessary steps that we need to take, whether you do it today or whether you do it next month, the fact of the matter is that there are going to need to be some decisions that are going to need to be made, and it's going to be very, very important that you align yourself with experts. And I can tell you, I had a transaction, and it's just coming at me right now. I had a transaction with a couple. They've bought many homes before. They're in their late 60s, relatively successful couple. But they were challenged with some things that happened during the housing crisis, as many of you are still trying to recover from that even. And but this family, even though they were still kind of working through some things that happened during that period, they also knew that life continued, and that beyond all of this, there still was going to be life going forward. And so, needless to say, from the situation of what happened during the housing crisis, it meant that they had to move into a lease situation, and they thought that that was going to be, their final run. And as things were beginning to kind of change for them for the better, as life was still happening for them, they made a decision to come out of that lease situation, and they then wanted to purchase a home. And now they're more wanting to move into a condo in a environment where it's not going to be a lot of upkeep, and it's safe, and it's still the kind of quality life that they're accustomed to. And they lived a very, very great life, but had to make some adjustments along the way. And that's the times we're in right now, having to make those adjustments. But they still knew that they needed to make some moves. And they had a time frame issue going on with that place, and they needed to be out by a certain time. So basically, we needed to move on their situation because it was of an urgent nature. At this time, this family had gone through another lender, and because of what happened during the housing crisis and some decisions, that lender was not, nor really had the patience really to work with them to help them out. Now, these folks are in their late 60s and still have a long life ahead of them, but they're needing to make some serious moves. And I thank God for having met Mike. Now, what's interesting is that sometimes people that are seasoned and they're of age, they're more inclined to judge people by their youth or whether they're older. Okay. I happened to, during this transaction, it was during the holidays, in the summer, 4th of July holiday weekend, and I called Mike. And Mike, who I would have thought may have been out with friends and maybe enjoying a nice dinner or luncheon somewhere, actually answered his phone, was available, and we actually met literally the following day.
Which was your birthday, right?
It was my birthday. It was my birthday, but it was the holiday weekend for you, and you really actually never get any real time off because we're always, of course, we're always working, right?
That's what we signed up for.
That's what we signed up for. We took this as a challenge. It was a tough situation, but I put it in the hands of Mike, and I shared with this couple Mike's experience. But I did warn them. I said, I got to let you know, he's younger than I am. I said, but I got to tell you, he has an old spirit. He works 24/7. He's a man of honor and integrity. I have never seen someone that has the kind of influence and the kind of successful teammates around him that affords him a leverage in the business. I've never seen it this way before. And I said, when you meet him, you will know from the moment that you meet him, you will know that this is a man that can get the job done. And I'll tell you, there's a lot that goes on with this story, but we were in a situation of competition on this transaction. This was the only unit in that complex. It was where they wanted to be. They were competing against a cash deal.
In the city. There was one.
It was only one.
And can I just
Yeah, I
need
need you to jump in. Absolutely.
When I said Monique is one of the most diligent, when I first met Monique, she said, Mike, when I refer you a client or you refer me a client, know and set the expectation for your client that it's going to be a 5 and right. And I said, I believe her because she's very transparent and to the point. It wasn't bragging. So I set the expectation. I sent her the pre-approval at 12 p.m. So I'm anticipating, okay, 5 and right, maybe within the next 3 or 4 days, you're going to come back.
Right.
Hey, Mike, we found the one. You called me back at 2:30 p.m., said the offer is going in. So it wasn't 5 and right. It was 1 and right.
Yeah, it was. And what we mean is that I had already, I told Mike when we sat down, and this was one of those tests that, I knew that Mike was dynamic at what he did, but I was like, okay, I know this file right here needs a lot of finesse. It needs a lot of massaging here. And he has said some very nice things about me, but I'll tell you something. We closed this transaction that there's no way anyone else could have closed this transaction but Mike. There's no way. When my clients, and I've known them for a while, I've been involved in their life for a while. They're very successful people, but they're like a lot of us that when trouble comes upon our doorstep, when things happen in life, that's the time to align yourself with the best and the brightest. And I knew who they were. And, when you are of a certain age and maturity and experience, there is a sound that is familiar to people that are very successful or that, have kind of been there and did it, or I'm kind of new at this, but, I've gone through some times in which things weren't done right by me. You can walk in and you can immediately sense if you are sitting before someone that truly can care for you and truly help you. And I said to them, I said, I know how I feel about Mike because it's not just a relationship in business only. We've developed a fondness of respect with one another. We highly esteem and respect one another dearly. So much so that even in the transaction, there were moments we butted heads. And let me tell you, we were both butting heads, not going against one another. It was, he had a perspective on things as a lender. I had a perspective of things as a real estate agent. We both wanted to win. And that's why we were butting heads. We were both trying to fight together to get to the finish line, right?
Yeah.
But when my clients came into his fabulous office, they fell in love with Mike. They fell in love with Mike because what they saw was an individual that was prepared, an individual that came with a heart of understanding, an individual that knew he had to bring his A game to the table, and he did. And as much as I was rooting for him at the table, it wasn't about me. It was about the clients really being able to have a sensing to whether he was the man for the job. And I'm telling you right now, they had been turned down by someone else and they were devastated. So by the time they came in here, and July was hot. I remember that. I wasn't drinking a coffee. I was drinking iced tea or something. Iced coffee. I was having an iced coffee, right? But what I can say is that when he sat in front of them as an expert, as a professional, with his heart wide open, with information, and had a fearless tenacity about himself that said to them, looking eyeball to eyeball. I'm here for you. I'm going to get this job done. And I believe it, and so much so that my clients called me after I left his office, and they invited me out to lunch, and they sat in front of me and they said, "This is the first time in a long time that we've had confidence that someone can really help us." So I'm here to tell you that again on, today we're just kicking back for a minute. We're just having discussion because we just want to talk to you for a minute and just let you really know that, you're dealing with two individuals that have combined over 40 plus years in the industry.
Yeah.
We have gone through the before the housing crisis, through the housing crisis, on the other side of the housing crisis, okay?
And we'll be on the other side of this.
And on the other, we've looked beyond. He told me last time we're looking beyond. We're looking beyond the other side of this, and so we are, and so therefore, you need to know here that you're dealing with individuals that have a heart to help you, to change your lives, and to do whatever we can to make a difference for you in this hour. And at some point, we want to hear from you. We want to know what's on your heart. We want to know what questions you have. We can sit and talk all day, but we really want to hear what you have to say. What are your questions? What are your fears? What are your concerns? What is it that Mike can do, or what is it that I can do, or what we can do together to bring some answers and some remedies and options to you? That's what this is about today.
Yeah, and I think like we discussed, we would love to have hosted an event, here or somewhere else, considering it probably might be a larger crowd. But considering what's going on, Monique and I are willing to, not only willing to, it's necessary that somebody provides the correct information.
That's right.
Out there, because to really, whether somebody's going to make a decision tomorrow, next 6 months, next year, whatever it may be, they need to be educated on what's going on. But we want to know, like you said, what are your questions? So we in being cautious with what's going on, we decided that a Zoom meeting would be the best. So we want to base the topics of the Zoom meeting off of what your main questions are, because if we're, again, this going back to this, what I said about the Yahoo Finance article, if should I buy a house right now is at an all-time high of being searched, it means people want to buy, they just need the education. So we want to know,
that's right,
what are your questions that are triggering,
that's right,
should I buy a house right now? And we're going to take, I think we agreed, the most popular questions.
Most popular. Let's go with the most popular first, and then we can kind of work our way down.
Through.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so we'll keep you guys updated with the date of the Zoom podcast. But if you want to drop a comment below in regards to what questions you'd like to have answered right now about the real estate and mortgage industry or markets, we're going to gather that data, schedule that webinar, and then maybe open up for a little Q&A at the end of the webinar.
Absolutely. And again, what Mike actually, he contacted me, and again, like minds think alike, but he came to me and said, I just think we need to get together. We need to just have some discussion. Just have some discussion here. And we want to be a resource to you, is really what this is about during these times. During these times, people they want answers. They want someone that they can talk to. So we want to be able to try to answer, as many questions as possible and bring truth to you. So again, for us, it's not a sales pitch. Mike is having probably one of his greatest years already, and it's been already an amazing start for me at this year already. And what we want to say to you too is that you're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. That's what I want to say to you. You're going to get through this, and somehow or another, stay close to your family, be encouraged, but take a moment to reevaluate and reinvent and reset. this might not be a bad idea to sit down and write some goals. It may not be a bad idea for you to just kind of, look at some of your cost in your home and how you can scale back just a little bit. It might just be a really good idea to just have that moment with me and Mike where we can actually, revisit where you're at with your home and what you need to do if it's looking like you may want to sell and scale down, or you want to refinance and get that lower interest rate, or whatever that might be. Again, it may not be something you want to do today. The whole point of this today is, how can we assist you? How can we answer questions for you that can help you to make the best informed decision in this right now time, and also looking beyond. So again, I'm Monique Carter, real estate broker with Carter and Associates Real Estate Company, and
Mike Hajjar, MPH Lending at American Financial Network. And we look forward to helping you, educating you through these times. And it's coming from, I appreciate all of the compliments, but when they say it takes one to know one, I actually called Monique and even had questions of my own for you on what your thought process was on what's going on with the market and things like that, because beyond the business partnership that we have, beyond the friendship, beyond there's a lot that I've learned from you and continue to learn from you, that I feel would be extremely beneficial to anybody that's watching what we're putting out.
And ditto back to you. So we're happy that you guys joined us today, and we're so grateful and so thankful. Looking forward to serving you. But again, until next time, thanks again for joining, and we'll see you on the next the Me and Mike Hajjar program. So you guys take care and have a wonderful day.
Be safe. Thanks, guys.
Now. Take care. Bye-bye.